Some of this I think would make a better podcast. Sometimes I like to film and look at my face and talk to myself, but today I just want to talk about something I was thinking about this morning, because it's in response to the lesson from the brain game today that's about taking action, taking steps towards the things you want. And part of that involves discipline. And I got a very big lesson on discipline back in 2018 when I started having serious problems with my teeth. I went through a time of some rather excruciating, painful toothaches, which I coped with by simply going into the pain and being with it, because I was not ready to take any kind of outward action with it. And it was an interesting journey, and it was one that I felt like I learned a lot from and got a lot out of. But at some point, actually, once I had gotten past the painful time, my 4 bottom front teeth started to get loose. And I realized that my teeth were in serious trouble and that I needed to actually do something about it. And I'm a very passive person, and I prefer to do inner work over taking outward action. In my astrology, I have Mars in Pisces. Mars is the planet of action, and Pisces is a water sign. So taking action for me is often like trying to do something underwater. It doesn't happen quickly. It's not straightforward. It often comes in the back door. And with the case of my teeth, I had avoided taking care of them for a long time because, well, sort of for many reasons. For one, I just didn't want to have to do it. I felt that way ever since I was a child. I never not resisted having to brush my teeth, even as an adult, for my whole life. I disliked it. And so I told myself that I didn't have to do it, that I didn't need to do it. Plus, I had some negative experiences with dentists, and also just generally didn't trust the medical profession. So I avoided that too. I went occasionally, but I didn't necessarily trust them or trust what they told me or what they wanted to do. And occasionally I got some work done, but it all just kind of culminated in this time where all of a sudden my teeth needed attention, and I had to step up and face that and be willing to do something about it. Then there was this other piece as well. It's like I'm thinking about this morning. Be careful what you envision. Because I had this vision. I had this desire to be like many Indian gurus that I read about. I admired them. I wanted to be like them. I felt like that would be the pinnacle of spiritual achievement, to become like them, because they seem to really know how to move through life and through the world unapologetically and easily and with great love. They seem to have achieved some enlightenment and some level of spirituality that enabled them to not be concerned with the world. And to me, the world felt like a very scary place and something I didn't want to have to deal with, and I always was looking for how to transcend the world because it scared me. So the vision of them was very beautiful to me because they seem to have done that. But the interesting thing is that a lot of them in their later years were almost toothless. They lost their teeth, and as was part of their culture in India, they didn't have dental work done. They just lost their teeth, and they lived with that. And I admired that too. I told myself, well, if I lose my teeth, that's okay. Because that seemed to be what they had done. But when I came up against the real possibility of losing my teeth, I realized that wasn't what I wanted. I realized that I wasn't living in India and probably would find it very hard to do so. That I was living in a different part of the world, in a different culture. I was raised in a different kind of family. I lived in a different world, and I needed to find a way to be in that world that made sense to me, that I could feel okay with. So I was having these problems with my teeth, these loose teeth that looked like they were just going to fall out of my mouth at some point. So I decided that I should find someone to go to, and I looked somewhere online or something for a dentist, and there was one that I felt attracted to. She advertised pain-free, compassionate dentistry and mentioned something about people who have had past traumatic or unhappy experiences with dentists, and that she was sensitive to that. So I decided to go to her, and she took a whole hour with me, just interviewing me at my first appointment with her about not just the state of my teeth and my mouth, but my mental state, my emotional state. And I really liked that, and I really felt like her office was a welcoming, friendly place, and that not only she, but the other people who worked in the office helped me to feel comfortable, helped me to admit some of the things that I felt, some of the fears that I had. But at the same time, she explained to me that the condition my mouth was in was very serious, and was something that even could lead to death. That infection could take hold, that could affect my entire body. And I knew that something had to be done, and she put forward what needed to be done, and I trusted her. I was able to trust her, and that was huge. That was a turning point for me. And I had to get to that point. I had to go through the pain of the toothaches and the threat of my teeth falling out of my mouth before I was able to make a change. And when I was ready to make that change, the universe met me, brought me someone caring and compassionate who could help me with the very practical work that needed to be done on my teeth. And she said that we needed to pull 10 of my teeth, and that the 4 bottom front ones could be replaced with an implant. And that was what I decided to do. And I sat there the day that she gave me that news, and I told her, I'll go home and I'll cry about this, and I'll grieve the loss of these teeth, but then I'll move forward and we'll do this together. And it took, I think, 2 years for everything to get sorted out. Once the teeth were pulled, I didn't have my 4 bottom teeth for a long time. I had a temporary thing to put in, but it was uncomfortable, so I didn't wear it a lot of the time. And so, it was quite a sight to see myself in the mirror that way. And I didn't see other people a lot during that time. When I did, I would put in the partial, but it made me aware of a lot of things. And it made me aware that I did want to have teeth and a smile and be able to feel comfortable around other people and in public in my own country. And I had reached the point where I was practically on a liquid diet because my teeth were out of alignment. I didn't have a good bite anymore to where I could chew food, so I couldn't chew raw vegetables or meat very well. And so I had just gotten to where I was almost on a liquid diet. And it took quite a long time. Eventually, the teeth came back into alignment, and I got the implants, and I went through the experiences of, having to go to a different doctor for when the teeth were removed and for when the implants were put in. But I was able to go through those experiences and trust and pray and be with the discomfort and take some pain meds so that the pain wasn't too much, and just to go through the whole process and sort of be a normal person instead of being traumatized by it all. And that was a victory. And I really didn't know that I would ever get back to eating normally again, but I did. After a couple of years, I was able to pretty much eat anything, even popcorn, like I had done before. And so the other part of this, going the long way around today to talk about discipline, the other part of this was that I committed myself to a daily discipline of taking care of my teeth. And I saw that not only did I need to have this work done at the dentist's office and to then go every 3 months to have cleanings and checkups, because I felt like that would help to support and keep me on track, I also needed to change my habits and brush and floss my teeth and use a water pick and use a rinse and get an electric toothbrush and do all these things that I had decided were unnecessary, because suddenly they felt very necessary. And it was just time to become an adult in this area and to take care of myself with love and devotion and commitment. And once I made that commitment, I stuck with it. I do have this ability that when I make a commitment to something, I stick with it. And I did. And I have. And for a very long time, it felt like a very big deal every day, twice a day, to be doing these routines to take care of my teeth. And I had even thought to myself or told myself, well, after having all these teeth pulled, there will be less teeth to take care of. But that it didn't really feel any different. And I realized, no, having fewer teeth isn't easier. And I bite my cheek a lot because implants were put in the back teeth, and so they're open, and the teeth that are there tend to chomp down on my cheek a lot, and that's very frustrating. But anyway, where was I? Discipline. So it finally, after a number of years, finally reached a point where my daily routine for my teeth felt pretty simple and easy. It really doesn't take very long at all. And I finally got used to doing it. And I discovered that, again, it was this process of working with myself and with my inner child. Not to push too hard, not to force myself too much to do it at a certain time, but to have these sort of guidelines. And sometimes at night, often at night, I wouldn't feel like doing my tooth routine when I was tired. And so I would lay down and I would fall asleep for an hour, and then I would wake up and go do it. And I was able to do it that way, to where something in me would get me up again and I would take care of my teeth. But I often couldn't do it when I started feeling sleepy, because then I just needed to sleep. But I would be able to then do it later in the evening, and that worked for me. And there was this thing inside me that somehow was committed to doing it, alongside the part of me that sometimes felt lazy or didn't feel like it. Somehow we were able to work together and get it done in a way that didn't make me rebellious. So I realized today that there's another change I'm wanting to make in my life right now. And again, it's about my body and my health. and about having more movement in my life. So, with this victory of the changes I've made and the discipline I've been able to have with my teeth, I know that I can make another change, and that the commitment that I'm ready to make right now is to movement of some kind for my body. Could be walking, could be dancing, could be yoga, could be just moving around, making movements to music or not. Just something. Like, kind of the way that it works for me is that I decide I want to do certain things in my life, but I don't necessarily decide when I have to do them. So my commitment right now is to do some sort of movement every day, once a day, sometime during the day. And that kind of goal generally works for me, because then if I get to the end of a day and I haven't done any movement, I will do something, because I know how to keep that commitment, but I also know how to make it flexible enough to where I might do it first thing in the morning, I might do it midday, I might do it later in the evening, or I might do it right before bedtime. And I'm not going to decide that it has to be any of those. It just needs to be one of them every day. And that feels like a commitment that I can keep. And then, giving myself that flexibility, I can start to be creative. I don't have to do the same movement every day. I don't have to do the same thing. I can do different things, because I tend to really get tired of doing the same thing. And I really need variety and to change things up. And I know that I can do that with this. So it feels good, because it feels like a baby step. Not too much, but I know what a big change one simple step that you do every day, that you do consistently. I know that's a key to change and to health and to well-being. And I feel good about myself, because I believe I can do this, and it's not too much and it's not too little. Amen. I just want to add that my dentist called me her star patient after all of the work and the continuing years that went on, and the commitment that I had to my tooth routine really produced results. And she talked about what a miraculous change there was in my mouth, my health, my teeth. And that was something that was a really beautiful confirmation and reward for the changes that I made.